right. Ryan, how's it going?
It's going well.
Average Nobodies podcast, episode 23.
It's like the great Michael Jordan.
20. That's it. That's it. When I think of our podcast, I think of the greats like Michael Jordan,
Wayne Gretzky,
Al
Sharpton, Reggie Lewis.
So if you didn't quite get that intro, that is the Oscar. It's some Oscar theme. It says on YouTube it's an Oscar theme, so we'll just go with that. It's Oscar season. This is one of our favorite times of the year. This is it. This is what we live for all year. This is award season. It's the award season. It's the award show of award season.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's the
that's the mecca.
Yeah. It's the WrestleMania. It's the Super Bowl.
Yep.
It's Wimbledon. It's all those things wrapped into one.
It is.
So we're gonna start talking some of the Oscars. So we want to highlight some of the main categories because we could sit and be here forever.
Exactly.
So and between the two of us, I think we saw all. Let's start off with the best pictures. We saw all the best pictures.
Yeah. Because I saw La La Land, Manchester by the Sea, Hidden Figures, Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah, and I saw Arrival, La La Land, Lion, and Manchester by the Sea. And Hell or High Water.
Yes. So was Fences the only one we haven't seen?
I think Fences was the only one we didn't see.
Oh,
and you know
that's a bad look.
It's kind of a bad look.
That wasn't purposeful.
But we did see Hidden Figures.
We did. So there we go. See, we made up for it.
But I just couldn't find anywhere to watch Fences.
It came on the site that I use kind of late, like after we did our preview post. Yeah. So I do want to watch it. I like Denzel. I mean, he directed it too, so... And it's up for a bunch of...
I always forget. I keep forgetting that. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I knew that, but every time you bring it up, it's like new to me.
So, I mean, I think we watched enough. I mean, we watched whatever besides Fences. So, yeah. I mean, I think we have enough knowledge to at least give our picks, our opinions. I mean, not that it matters because we're not part of the Hollywood Foreign Press, or are we?
We could be.
We could be.
That'd be the twist of the season. we might get an Oscar for that.
So, starting off, Best Picture, who you got?
It's really tough for me because I'm going to say La La Land. I'm going to say La La Land is Best Picture because it's exactly the type of movie that would win Best Picture. Right. It's a movie about Hollywood, and Hollywood loves those movies.
Yeah.
The Academy loves those movies.
Especially upbeat. Kind of. Obviously, there's certain storylines that people want it to be differently, but it's not a tragedy. It's not like depicting Hollywood in a negative light. So I think they're like, oh, look, see? It's not so bad here.
It's well-directed. Mm-hmm. It has very inventive shots, like very inventive cinematography. There's a great video. I saw it on Facebook, but I got to imagine it's on YouTube somewhere. If you look up Damien Chazelle, I hope I'm saying his last name correctly.
You are.
Chazelle?
Yep.
If you look up this video, it's a video basically behind the scenes look at him directing. And it's the scene where they're in the jazz club and the camera keeps going back and forth between Ryan Gosling on the piano and then someone in the crowd. I got to remember. I don't think it was Emma Stone. I think it was a different scene. But it's the tapping. I think it's when
he's like the lounge singer, that one?
Yeah, maybe.
Like towards the beginning?
Yeah, exactly. So maybe it's like, so he's like, someone's tapping on, or Damien Chazelle's tapping on the camera guy's shoulder, and like the camera's like whipping to the right and then whipping back to that person. So it seems like it's a post, like when you're watching it, it looks like a post effect, like a post like transition, like it's this shot and it's that shot, and they just keep like twisting between them. But no, it's an actual practical shot, and it's so cool. So like really inventive cinematography. It's well directed by Damien Chazelle. Mm-hmm. I'll get to him later, and just the music's so fun. My face hurt from smiling when I came out of La La Land, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it won. I mean, it obviously broke the record, right, for most nominations.
It tied, and I forget who it tied with. I want to say
Schindler's List. I think.
Yeah.
I think it was Schindler's List.
Maybe it was Schindler's List. That sounds familiar. We'll go with that. Prove us wrong. If not, then we're right. That's it. See, I love La La Land. I really like that. I'm gonna go with a little wild card pick and go with Moonlight. Okay. I heard a lot of good things.
It was so good. It was so well acted, really, like really well written. Not even from a dialogue standpoint, just from the way the scenes were. It was a heartbreaking movie.
Yeah.
It It was broken into 3 parts, which I'm always kind of a fan of those movies because it followed the same character played by 3 different actors throughout his life.
Did it kind of feel like you saw Place Beyond the Pines, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of like
similar to that.
That one's more. I guess Place Beyond the Pines is really more a 2-parter.
Yep.
Than anything, but that type of thing.
Yeah,
Passage of time.
Yes.
Okay.
And just kind of how, which is cool because in the 3rd act, you kind of understand why this guy is like he is because you saw him in the 1st and 2nd acts and the things that happened to him and how his environment forced him to become this person.
Okay.
No spoilers, but it's really well acted. I mean, they had a couple, the best supporting actor and best supporting actress were my picks too from Moonlight.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So, spoiler alert, but
nah, not really.
Yeah, I really liked Moonlight. I thought it was really good. I'd like to see it win. You know, it was a different kind of movie. It didn't strike me as a movie like, you know, you said La La Land is almost made for these type of awards, especially depicting Hollywood in such a positive light.
Yeah.
I liked Moonlight because it was different. It was dark.
I think I would really like Moonlight. I have to. I'm gonna eventually watch all of these movies. I do this every year, and I mean, who knows? I could watch the rest of these movies by the time the Oscars come around.
You could.
I could, and I might, but I probably won't. And I say this every year. I want to watch all of them, but they all got nominated for Best Picture. They're not there for no reason. Like they all have their merits, and it's going to be tough. Just to go on La La Land again, I thought it was such a cool blend because this is a movie we both saw together. I just thought it was such a cool blend of like modern and retro, but it was set in modern day. Like I was explaining to you when we left the theater, I thought one of the coolest scenes was when Ryan Gosling was waiting outside the movie theater for Emma Stone at their first date, or their first, like, you know, when they went to the movie theater to see that movie. And he's, like, waiting outside, and he's not sure where she is. He thinks possibly she's blowing him off. And, like, this is, like, a scene straight out of, like, a movie from, like, you know, pre-'80s. Like, this is, like, a classic, like, nowadays, you have a cell phone. You text the person, you call them, you leave them voicemail. But all those elements were in the movie, but they weren't used at certain times. So it felt like it was an older movie than it was. It just had this, like, real charm to it that I loved. Like, it just, like, you know, like, he drove an old car. She drove almost a new Prius. Like, I mean, not brand new, but almost. I mean, it's a you know, a few years old Prius. And he drove this, like, it was like a Cutlass Supreme or something. Something, Oldsmobile or something. Convertible. He got in. I don't think I saw him open the doors once in that car. No. When he got into it. He just hopped over. Yeah, just little charming things like that. The music was awesome. People will complain that Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling don't have the greatest singing abilities. It did not take away from the movie at all.
Absolutely not.
And anybody that says that is an asshole. I'm sorry. Like, it did not take away from the movie at all. You have to be a real cynic to think that their lack of singing ability, which is 10 times better than I can do on my best day.
Or most people.
100 times better than I can do on my best day. And, yeah, most people. So, whatever. I'm going with La La Land. You're saying Moonlight. I think it might. And I know that Manchester by the Sea is, like, one of the ones. Yeah. I think it would be cool to see Manchester by the Sea win because it would be the first... it would be the first movie streaming service to win an Oscar.
Because Amazon picked it.
Well, yeah, Amazon did it. So for Best Picture, because I think that streaming services have won for other things, but for
Best Picture,
But that would be cool. Like,
that would be cool.
It completely shows, like, how everything's changing. Like, how the whole movie, everything is changing. Scorsese just announced today that his next movie with Pesci and De Niro got picked up by Netflix.
Really?
It's going straight to Netflix. Now, that's not like okay, Adam Sandler has a contract with Netflix for 6 movies. He's already done like 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think his third one's coming.
That makes sense, right? That makes sense. All his guys, like, you know, Kevin James and, you know, those guys. Okay, yeah, they're going on Netflix. Okay, they're cool movies. They're funny movies. Whatever. But Scorsese, De Niro, Pesci.
That's the changing of
going to Netflix.
How movies are purchased,
and it's probably going to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be... in his eyes, he's probably not the type of guy that's like, this is the way it's always been, this is the way that...
No, he adapts and changes.
He's probably more than happy to get his idea out for the most amount of people to see. Yeah. Like, he's a filmmaker. Right. He's making these films for people to see them.
Exactly.
So, all right, you want to move on to the nitty-gritty? Best Actor?
Yep. Best Actor, I go on Casey Affleck.
Okay. I mean, I'm with you on that.
Because, as much as I love La La Land for the actual overall Best Picture, just the work that Casey Affleck did I'm not a huge fan of how they kind of lump in the lighter comedy with the heavier. Because you're looking at Casey Affleck and Ryan Gosling. I mean, those are two completely different roles.
You have to
played. I mean, I know they have to, but
you have to look at it as the performance and not like you have to look past the genre.
The movie,
but I'm saying I know what you're saying. Like Manchester by the Sea is a heartbreaking movie, and it's hard to look at it in the same light as La La Land.
Yeah, because as much as Gosling like uplifted me and he was charming and he was great, and I am under the impression. I mean, I'm always of the thought that that's a harder role to play. That's why
the uplifting.
Yeah, like that's why I like a Leo in The Aviator or a Wolf of Wall Street.
Or Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah, better than a
Revenant.
Leo in The Revenant, or I mean, not that it's still talent. But it's not any actor that can just make you root for this con man or this real piece of shit guy. And not that Gosling was, but like it's not easy to be charming. It's not easy to get the majority of people think you're charming.
No, I mean, just look at me.
Exactly. You'll get there.
So
Casey Affleck. That's
I'm with you. I'm going with Casey Affleck. His portrayal of Lee. What's their last name? Whatever the last name is. His name is Lee something.
Oh, in Manchester?
Yeah, Manchester by the Sea. His portrayal as Lee in that movie is like, it wasn't acting.
No.
Like, it made me feel like this is how Casey Affleck is when he walks around all the time.
Yeah.
Just depressed. Like, it was amazing.
It was.
The tone of the movie was, like, even throughout the whole... I mean, it had some, like, chuckle moments. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say it's, like, funny or comedic moments. It's like...
You almost laughed out of awkwardness.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff.
Like, well, I don't know what else to do, so I'll be like that.
I specifically like the scene, if anybody's seen Manchester by the Sea, I won't give anything away, even though I don't think there's much to give away, but they're sitting at the kitchen table, like, the morning after his brother passes, and he's sitting there, and, like, the son, Patty, the kid... His girlfriend like comes down. She's actually the one from Moonrise Kingdom.
Yep.
And she's like sitting to eating breakfast, and he comes down. The son Patty comes down, and Casey Affleck's sitting at the table like trying to arrange their funeral. Yeah. And he's just like, and she's like looking at him like he doesn't have to hear this. Can you go in the other room? And it's just like so like the awkward moments. And he's so not like he's like this like he's had a hell of a past, and he's just like this rough and
It's almost like he doesn't know how to be around people.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. So yeah, I'm going with Casey Affleck too. It was a wonderful job. For best actress, it was a little bit tougher for me because I know that I've read a lot about Florence Foster Jenkins, and I've heard that Meryl Streep is like a dark horse, and like everybody. It kills me that everybody just loves her in Hollywood. Like she just won that award. She just won the. It was not a Lifetime Achievement Award. It was.
The one at the Emmys?
Yeah. She won that, and then she had that big speech, and so, I don't know. But I gotta go Emma Stone only because I don't really know much else about...
That's why I picked Emma Stone almost by default. Because I didn't see... Helen Hunt is the one, isn't she?
No. Isabelle Huppert is from Elle.
That's
she's the one... that's the foreign film.
Yeah.
That's the French film?
I didn't see that one. I didn't see Florence Foster Jenkins.
And then there's Natalie Portman from Jackie, which I didn't see Jackie.
I didn't see that either.
But that also could be one because
that's the type of
a biopic
of a popular figure, and so that could. Yeah. I mean, Emma Stone was really charming, just same as Gosling.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I just think, as far as Gosling goes, he has a little bit heavier competition going against him, at least from what I saw.
Yeah.
So obviously you have Meryl Streep, and then Jackie. That type of biographical character is always big with the Oscar crowd. So, I mean, but we're on the same page with Emma Stone.
Emma Stone, she was delightful. She was absolutely delightful in La La Land. Them together. I wish there was like a best, like they have for the, I don't know, it's not the SAG Awards, the Ensemble Cast Awards. Yeah, is that SAG?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And how like, Stranger Things won, but I mean, Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, like, if you could count that as an ensemble, them two together were so fun.
They really are. They're so good. I hope they just make movies together forever.
Me too. And then, so now, Best Supporting Actor and Best Supporting Actress. For Best Supporting Actor, I'm going with Jeff Bridges. Even though Lion was really good and Dev Patel was awesome in Lion, it wasn't like a... I was actually surprised it was nominated for a Best Picture. It was a good movie, but it didn't seem like on par with the others. Yeah. The story was incredibly like it hit home like as far as like this kid gets separated from his family like at a very young age, and he barely remembers them, so he's trying to figure out how to get back to them in India with this this gigantic population. He's trying to figure out what train station it was, and there's like thousands and thousands of train stations within X amount of miles, but I'm gonna stick with Jeff Bridges because I thought he was a badass in Hell or High Water,
which I really want to see. I do still want to see that.
I highly suggest you go see that because he's awesome in it. It's a character he plays a lot, but he plays the character so well, and he's just like he's funny, he's serious, he's smart. I love movies that are set in the desert, and I love westerns, so. Like all the colors were there for me. He like fits fits into universe. That world so well. Like he's there so well. Like like True Grit, like a similar movie to True Grit, and so he's like kind of like the same like old grizzled veteran, days away from retirement.
He has that voice too that just fits in that.
It's so good. I love Jeff Bridges. Yeah. So I'm going with Jeff Bridges.
I picked Mahershala Ali from Moonlight. I'm a huge fan of him, so that's kind of why I'm leaning towards him. Love him in House of Cards. Thought he was really good in Luke Cage.
He's Cottonmouth in Luke Cage.
Yeah. So, but he was really good. He was kind of the heart of this movie. When, like I said, it's a dark movie. It focuses on inner city Miami, I believe it is. Okay. It's just growing up with not much, and the kid didn't really have any role models to turn to, and Mahershala Ali's character was that role model for him, even though. It's not a spoiler, but he's a drug dealer. So he is this drug dealer who is contributing to the society that this kid's growing up in, but at the same time, he's trying to help him because he sees that he has no parents, really. He has no upbringing. So he's almost the reason why this kid's living in poverty. But at the same time, he's kind of like his sanity as well. Mm-hmm. Because if it wasn't for all the stuff that he did for him, who knows where he would have ended up. So that's why it was a really complicated character. He played it off really well. He's such a great nonverbal actor. Where, again, it wasn't necessarily dialogue in this movie, but the way it was shot, everything is really up close. Like, you're seeing everything on these actors and actresses' faces. And I think that's where he's really, really good. And I thought he was great, so I'm going with him. I hope he wins. I like him.
Yeah. I think that if I had saw Moonlight, I'd be a little more... I mean, obviously I haven't seen it, so I can't say anything about it, but I think if I saw it, a lot of these would be changed, or some of these would be changed.
But, I mean, it's good, because you're basing it on what you've seen, so you can't make it up. So. Yeah. And then for actress, I'm going with Naomi Harris, who actually plays the main character's mother in that movie. And the way that she interacts with the main character and the way that she interacts with Ali is really, really good. And you don't root for her, I'll just put it that way. Yeah. She's kind of She's a piece of work, but I'm going with Naomi Harris for a supporting actress.
It's tough for me for supporting actress because this list is like limiting for me because I haven't seen any of Lion. That's it, Nicole Kidman in Lion. But I didn't think she was that impressive in it. I'm not a big Nicole Kidman fan either. So, but I think that I'm going to go with Viola Davis just because of the hometown factor. Didn't see Fences. I hope I will eventually see it. Hopefully,
she's amazing though. I mean,
she is great. Yeah, and I'm sure in Denzel Washington is the type of actor that lifts up his
especially when he's in charge of the set. If he's the director,
he lifts and rises the other. I mean, not that she needs to be risen to his level, but it only helps that he puts people over. Just like he's like the Chris Jericho of acting.
Yes,
I mean he makes every movie better. Yeah. Because of the way around him.
Just the presence.
Yeah, I mean I go back to when I talk about Denzel Washington, I always go back to Training Day. It's like his quintessential classic movie, and he is like such a powerful person in that movie, and that's like the way. So that's the way I view him. So I think that he Viola Davis, best supporting actress. I do have an opinion for best director.
Okay, let's hear it.
I wish I could say his name correctly. Denis
Villeneuve.
Yeah, Villeneuve. There we go. That's the one. Arrival. I loved Arrival. I thought it was so original. But beyond that, it's a beautiful movie, well directed. It's like very simple. For it being a sci-fi alien movie, it's a very simple movie, but it's really well done. I loved it. It's suspenseful the entire time, like the kind of suspense that you see in. I'm going to use a recent example. We were talking about Passengers.
Yeah.
Super suspenseful movie. That kind of suspense the entire movie, because you're not sure what's going on. He does a good job of keeping things in the dark and bait and switch, showing you one thing, thinking one thing's going to happen, and then you're this whole scene's going on, but in the back of your mind, you're screaming because it's like a calm scene, but you're like, this is happening. So I love that. And he is, I mean, if you don't know his work, he's done Prisoners with Hugh Jackman.
Because I've heard the name. I love that movie's great.
He did Sicario, which
I love.
Really good. I mean, if you replace like the cartel with aliens and like change, I mean, obviously changed the story a lot, but it like had a similar feel.
Okay.
Like it was very simple. There wasn't a ton
very
to it.
Very suspenseful.
Yeah, very like a lot of angsty moments, like where you're like, I guess angst is not really the thing, but you're like tense. On the edge, very tense, a lot of tense moments. And he's also directing Blade Runner 2049 with Ryan Gosling and
he's on a little bit of a roll here.
Ford. So he is on a roll
for him. That's awesome. I'm going with Damien Chazelle from La La Land. I hadn't seen Arrival, so but yeah, I think out of the ones I've seen on that list, I really liked him. Mel Gibson, he's not going to win, but it was Hacksaw Ridge was really, really well directed. I mean, you get Mel Gibson in that type of war atmosphere, and he can direct the hell out of a movie.
Yeah.
So that was one of the main reasons I liked it. I mean, Andrew Garfield was really good in it too.
Yeah.
But the direction was really what sold me on that movie, because the first however many, maybe hour or 45 minutes, is his upbringing, because he's a pacifist. So they kind of got to explain that in depth before you get to the war part. But once the war part kicked in, Mel Gibson was a badass. So, but I'm going with Damien Chazelle.
I was going to say, so Damien Chazelle was my second, but I wanted to give an honorable mention to Mel Gibson just for being at the Oscars this year and for being nominated in a few different categories. Pretty cool for his movie to be nominated in a few different categories. It's pretty awesome. So I think it's going to be an interesting Oscars, because I don't know if there's anything that's a definite. There's like, I don't know. It's just like we were saying before, like La La Land and Manchester by the Sea are two completely different movies, and they're both great for different reasons.
Right.
I guess. So who knows? I think it could go either way. I don't think there's like a.
It's not like La La Land's going to win every one over Manchester or vice versa.
And I wouldn't be surprised. I've got to imagine that like cinematography, like La La Land takes. I got to assume that anything to do with music, like La La Land takes. Score, sound mixing, La La Land takes. You know what I mean? Like
those ones, they might be a little more favored than others, but in the major ones, like the 6 that we just talked about,
yeah,
I think it's anybody's game.
I really hope that screenplay, I hope Arrival wins, because I was really surprised with that movie. It was such an original idea. Like, you go into that not, like, as a sci-fi buff too myself, like, usually you can kind of figure out the path of the way the story's going, and you could even kind of anticipate, like, twists, like, okay, it could go this way or it could go this way, but it was a story that was all its own. It was a new idea, which is hard to come by. So I really hope that it wins screenplay.
Nice.
So that was cool.
Now you're going to be you'll be in town for the Oscars.
I will be in town for the Oscars. Justine and Jess, if you're listening, Jess texted me today and said that we need to get our group chat going.
Yes.
And that we need to come up with a clever name for it. So I gave her a few of them actually, and I would use my phone if I could use it. But one of them was Schindler's Text.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah. Offensive.
It's a weird one to parody.
The Born Chat-denity.
Ah, I like that
That's
one.
Not bad. Yeah, and then what was the last one? Oh, Mad Text Fury Chat.
Hey, that's a good base. I like it.
We're going to start with that, but I think that Jess is also brainstorming, so if you think of any.
I'll make sure to send some along. But I agree, we need to get that going, and we will be tweeting at Average Nobodies throughout the Oscars.
I don't know if you can even see that up there. Yeah, at Average Nobodies is our Twitter account. Hit us up there. Also, if you like this movie talk, you can continue the talk over at Make Movies Great Again, which is our new podcast, which I hope that Ryan will be joining us for one soon. We're trying to plan one where
absolutely.
Adam... Ryan and myself get on so we can get the three amigos back together talking about movies over there. So search on iTunes, search Average Nobody's Podcast if you're listening to this on live on Facebook, or if you listen to this on YouTube. And also search Make Movies Great Again and subscribe to both those, because we'll continue the movie talks over there.
Yes.
So speaking of Arrival and speaking of aliens, some big news. I know last podcast we talked about they
discovered
an Earth-like super planet.
Yeah.
It was like hot, like molten with rocks, like kind of core. But today, NASA put out this big announcement that they found 7 exoplanets outside of our solar system that are surrounding a star in another solar system in the habitable zone. So that means it's in a zone where it can support life. So I don't know what the exact. I'm not a scientist. So I don't know the exact specifications for the habitable zone.
I know the main thing was it's most likely to have liquid water, which is like their main requirement for having sustained life.
Okay.
So I think it was in that.
Okay.
Which is still something like 40, I don't know. They did the math out to still how far away it is.
Oh yeah, like what where it wouldn't freeze and where it wouldn't freeze or be not there and where it would just evaporate.
So it's in that zone where, because that's their main qualification for sustaining life is liquid water, and I guess it's in that zone, which is still like 45,000 light years away or something. But
it's a long way away. It's like 235 trillion miles.
That's not
which
bad.
is just out of reach.
It's my Hyundai Sonata. You're just getting up on that.
So I just had a few more zeros.
Yeah.
It's just so I don't know where I'm going to start this, but I'm going to start with 7 Earth-sized planets that can support life as we know it. I'll get into that in a second. Found outside of our solar system, 7 of them. That's crazy. It's crazy in the fact that we found them. It's crazy in the fact that there's 7 altogether within the habitable zone. So think about what could be happening out there. Imagine if we had even 3 other planets in our solar system that we could get to that were habitable, like really easily habitable. And like Mars is a little bit out of reach, but imagine if they were like some a little closer. Or if Mars was even a little less like crazy to set up and terraform. Like it was just, there was water there already. You know, we go there and we just start set up camp. Like imagine that. Like imagine having like 3 or 4 different worlds. That's just like crazy to think.
It is.
So it's just like it's really exciting because I don't know what the percentage of like what the percentage is, but there's got to be life on these planets. Some kind of life.
That's the thing. Like the big question is, are we alone in the universe? Which I mean, I think we both agree that no,
we are not.
No.
Yeah.
But to be able to now take a huge step forward in that question, because you know now that you found the planet, you kind of want to see is there extraterrestrial life out there? I mean, I don't understand why there not be. Like to think there wouldn't be is a very odd view, in my opinion. Like to think, nope, it's only here.
Yeah, no.
Why? Why is it only here?
It's a very like I don't know. I don't know the word, but like you know, you're not really expanding your
narrow-minded.
It's very narrow-minded thought. Thank you. You're saving me, Tim.
I got you.
But it is very narrow-minded because there has to be light. And what I was saying before, water is the only way that can support life as we know it. So, but there's probably somewhere else in the universe where there's organisms that are alive that don't need water or don't need.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would never think that. What we've come up with here is the most advanced thing out there. I don't think that's.
Which is just crazy. Then you start thinking about, okay, so now there's an infinite possibility of planets, of combination of planets, and if you buy into if you buy into infinity and what it is, then that means that somewhere else in the universe there's 2 people named Matt Ryan doing exactly what we're doing with this exact setup, saying the exact same things. If you buy into infinity, like that's how wild that is. So there has to be life out there.
Yeah.
It's just the universe is too big for our planet to be the only planet that's exactly this far away from the sun that had the same creation, the same all that stuff, like the same way it formed. It's just crazy. So 7 planets. Not within reach of us, but close enough where I think our technology can get good enough where we'll know.
Yeah.
I mean, we can tell, with the Hubble Space Telescope and, like, other devices, we can tell what other, like planets are made of. We can tell how old stars are. I can't even begin to understand how we know how old a star is. We can, like, look through their atmosphere and see, like, what's in the atmosphere, and by that, we can tell how old it is. That tickles my mind in all the wrong ways.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand that. It's fucking crazy. I mean, bottom line, it's crazy.
I mean, it's a huge step for NASA, obviously, and the whole science community. I mean, that's just to even discover that. Yeah. And then now the next step is, so what's the next step from there for them? I mean, is it to? I mean,
they're gonna document these planets. They're gonna like probably review, honestly, they've probably known about this for a few months. Then this is just like the way it's getting out now. But they're probably gonna document like the orbits. You know, what is a day like on these planets? Is it 24 hours? Is it 36 hours? Like, I think Mars is almost the same as Earth. It's technically, I think it's a little longer, But so they'll figure that stuff out. So I got to imagine that in the coming weeks, coming months, we'll have like layouts for each planet. The sun is called. They named the sun. I forget what they call the name. It starts with a T. It's actually a pretty badass name, actually. But anyway, so they name the sun. They'll probably name all the planets if they haven't already. Give them official names and give their like, they'll render what they think the surface is like, because they'll be able to figure that shit out. I mean, if they don't already know.
Yeah.
They'll be able to figure that out soon. So I think we'll know a lot more about these planets. I mean, like if they're next door. Like, we'll know. I mean, life might be a little tricky to figure out if there's life there, but we probably have the tools to know, like, within a degree, if it's possible for life to be there. If there's life, then if there's life... No, if it's habitable for life.
Okay.
If it's definitely habitable for life, and what the percentage of the chance that there happens to be life there.
Right.
Like if they find a place it's like this, like it's Earth, like this degrees, it has water, it has. I mean, if it has plants, there you go. There's living things. There's living things on other planets.
Yeah.
So, very cool. I'm very, very excited.
Yeah. That's a big step. But I'm glad that it came out, and it's funny. Not funny, but back-to-back weeks of really huge discoveries.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that sometimes this stuff gets shoved under the rug, or like for other things like the Kardashians and things like that. I don't want to sound like the old man on his front porch, like yelling at the sky, literally. But I mean, this is exciting stuff. Like this is the most exciting stuff like since we've landed on the moon. Like really, I mean, you have Elon Musk thinking that we live in a virtual reality. He's a whole nother kind of crazy. I love the guy. He has some strange views on what's going on in our world.
That's why he's getting his robot army ready.
It's a whole nother podcast. He's Tony Stark. He is. He's Tony Stark. So, it's just, this is exciting stuff, and it should be higher up in the news. Like, I bet there's so many people today that didn't know that happened.
I know. I mean, it was trending everywhere, but, again, it's the people who are the constants on social media and stuff probably either, one, didn't know, or two, brush it off as... Yeah. Which is unfortunate.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's switch gears a little bit. I just want to talk about average nobodies, and I mean, we already prepped this, so we want to talk about average nobodies, and we want to talk about where we've been, where we're going, and what are some of our plans coming up. Yeah. So, I mean, we started this blog. It was our 4 year. Was it 4 years? 4 year anniversary
last week.
Yeah. That was the last podcast. Was our 4 year anniversary. So, and since then, we've come a long way. We started this as a blog. I don't even really know the pretense for like starting the blog. I don't even remember.
I think it was just to kind of have an outlet to, write either our own think pieces, our own opinion stuff, or just share some stuff that we thought was cool, whether it be wrestling or entertainment or science or. Because
I know before that we had been making videos. We did drink with class for a while, so it was kind of a good way for us. I guess you're right, to switch gears,
transition into the written form of it.
Yeah. So and we kind of like over the last. I mean, this has been like really fun because since we've been out of college, we've had to get like quote unquote real jobs. We don't hang out as much as we usually do or we used to, and so this is like still a good way for us to like put our creative juices like to work outside of our regular jobs.
Absolutely.
And so I'm just really happy that we're getting back into it. I think this is really good. I would love that if anybody's listening to this right now, it would be like this is like our baby. Like we grew this from nothing. We put no money into this. We've had some good opportunities over the last few years, and we've grown it pretty organically. So if you're listening to this and you like what you're hearing, like share it by all means. Like tell other people. Like this is the only way we're going to get out there. Like it's really important that way. And now by adding in our voicemail. The voicemail numbers that changes it, and I know that I don't know if we want to. Do we want to tease it all? What me, you, and Adam have been talking about?
I think we should wait a little bit.
Yeah, so
until we are able to meet.
I mean, we already know we want to get back in front of the camera more. We want to start doing that stuff. But I mean, what do you think about like what?
I was thinking about it today because, like you said, I mean, responsibilities do shift once you're out of college, and it's more towards not only your personal responsibility, but I mean, you owning a home, and now I'm living with Holly, and you have your job, and you can't just sink 24 hours a day, 7 days a week into a blog or videos. But when you have like someone who wants to do podcasts or wants to create a blog and do videos like we have with each other, I think that helps out a lot, because if we were doing this solo, one, not only would it be horribly depressing and boring, but two, like, you feed off each other, you motivate each other, you keep things going. And I was looking today just on our YouTube page, youtube.com/theaveragenobodies. But, I mean, we have 38 episodes of Drinking with Class on there. Yeah. We have 76 videos of Twitter News Weekly. Yeah. I mean, we have all the short films we did. We have the Stupid Sayings videos. So, for me, it's all about not only constant content, but quality content. Yeah. So, to have someone to be able to kind of bump ideas off of like that is huge. And, I mean, we want people, interns or even just staff writers, if you have a certain topic you want to write about, or if you're like us and your topics vary all over the place, we'd love to work with you.
Yeah, we'd love if you reach out to us. I mean, anybody. We're looking for writers. Any kind of content you can contribute, we'd love to, we'd like to collaborate with other people and, see what other,
Well, that's where you find your best ideas. I mean, it's, we're not these mad geniuses and we're just going to sit in a dark room and come up with these crazy thoughts. It's getting it out there, and if it hits, it hits. And if it doesn't, it's out there and you did it. Yeah. So that's my take on it, and I'm glad we're podcasting it. I'm glad we were always posting on the blog, but to be able to do it in different mediums, not just the written, but to have the video with the podcast, and then to go in front of the camera and actually write these things and act in them, and you're the editing wizard. That makes it look good. So.
I mean, the stuff we put in a lot more to these videos than what meets the eye. Like, it for whatever it seems like we just throw stuff together. Like, a lot of this stuff is really thought out, and this is our baby. So, I mean, again, if you're really enjoying this stuff, we'd love you to share it. We'd love you to subscribe, comment, interact with us, because it just makes it better that way. And again, if you're someone that's looking for a part-time, I mean, I don't think we could pay anything right now, but we're looking for someone to contribute to our blog, and you could be a contributor to this blog. It has a pretty decent following already. Yeah. I mean, reach out to us. We're really open to anything. We write about everything from wrestling to movies and pop culture and everything. So if you have something you want to talk about and you want to reach more people, join up with us. I mean, we want people to write for us. We want people to write for the Average Nobodies. We want you to get your word out there. Then who knows? You can use these pieces as examples for another job down the road. It's just a good way to make connections. It's just,
and that's what I've done. I mean, this is specific to wrestling, but I started doing Raw reviews and pay-per-view recaps and preview articles and stuff on Average Nobodies from 4 years ago. Not necessarily every single Raw and every single pay-per-view, but I had a lot of stuff I could fall back on if I ever wanted to move that forward in wrestling. Yeah. And now I write for a website called TopRopePress.com. I do all their NXT previews, all their NXT results articles. I'm going to be doing one after this podcast. And I was able to use the stuff on Average Nobodies to send to them and say, look, this is the quality of my work. This is what I'm capable of. Not just saying, I want to write. You trust me. I can do it. So, don't look at it from a monetary perspective. It's not. Obviously, that's important. We're not saying quit your job and do this for free.
Yeah,
but
and come right for us.
But make time. Make a couple hours a day, if that's what it takes, and if that's what you want to do. But
it's therapeutic, if nothing. It is. And if you're reaching out to us to write, the chances are you like to do it anyway, just for yourself, which is exactly what we do. We do this just for ourselves. I mean, right now, just for ourselves. We'd love to grow it, but this is where we're at right now, and the Average Nobodies is not going anywhere. We're only growing. We added a podcast. We have a lot of ideas coming down the pike this year. So please share and join in the fun. And we just want, we want to interact with you guys. So we have a Google Voice number now. Yes. We hinted at later, before. It's 401-285-8120. We will not be answering live just yet unless we're on a show. But if you want to call and leave us voicemails, we are more than happy to take voicemails. If you have a question, if you have a comment, if you need advice, I don't know what kind of good advice we can give.
I make a mean boneless pork chop, so if you need a recipe for that, you let me know. I'll come on, wear my apron.
So if you need recipes, anything from recipes to advice, we probably give terrible advice, but we're going to give it anyway.
Exactly.
But yeah, call the number, 401-285-8120. For the most part, I think we're going to have these live, these podcasts live every episode, either on Facebook or if we find something better like Periscope or whatever works better. So yeah, so I think that's good. I think we can be done talking about Average Nobodies, but I just wanted to get that out there and let everybody know if this is your first time listening or you're not sure what we've been doing. I mean, this is the stuff. AverageNobodies.com is where we've been for the last 4 years, and we've been making videos longer than that. So
Well, just in case people aren't tuning in, they're like, look at these two handsome guys in this basement. Now they know it. Now we know what we're all about.
Yeah, now they know exactly what we're about. Ryan, what have you been watching besides the Oscar movies? What have you been watching?
So I got one documentary recommendation and one television show recommendation that both of them are kind of under the radar. At least the documentary, I think, it's on Netflix, but I hadn't heard of it until last weekend. It's called The Hurt Business.
Okay.
And it's an MMA documentary with all the major fighters, and it follows a bunch of different fighters. It follows John Jones. There's a small part on Ronda Rousey, and then it follows some of the lesser known fighters and just kind of their journey mixed in with how MMA and then eventually the UFC became popular in the United States. It's really cool. It's a little under 2 hours. A fun fact I wanted to mention to you, because it's something I think you'd be interested in, is Renier Gracie, whoever the Gracie is that started it in the early 90s.
Is Royce Gracie?
He's like in his 50s now. It's not like the patriarch. It's like the one who started fighting in UFC and the gi and everything. Is that Renier? It's whoever that one is.
I don't know. I know Royce Gracie.
Because he's the one, because when they started doing MMA, they didn't have the octagon.
This guy's 50 years old.
Yeah.
Royce.
So it's Royce. And it was him and John Milius, the writer and director.
John Milius.
He's the one.
I know John Milius.
They kind of combined for the octagon shape. Because they wanted to do it different than a boxing ring.
Yeah.
And they were talking about that, and he's like, yeah, I was friends with John Milius because it started out in California.
Yeah.
And he was
like
a screenwriter and
everything. Is a madman.
Yeah. He said, why don't you do the octagon?
That's awesome. That's so cool. Now, that's I have to check this out because there's a documentary called Milius. It's about John Milius. He wrote Conan the Barbarian. And you like this, the most amount of scripts that you probably know, but you wouldn't know that he wrote.
He's been involved with just a major amount of movies,
and he's just a crazy
30,
person.
40 years. Yeah,
he's just an insane person.
But yeah, it was really cool. And then they kind of showed. I didn't know that John Jones and Holly Holm, the one who ended up beating Rousey for the first time, they have the same trainer. So they kind of showed them training. This was when Jones was fighting Daniel Cormier, and Holly Holm was still kind of on the undercard.
That's interesting.
But it was really cool, and then it showed how it was bought by the Fertitta brothers, and then Dana White became the president, and that's how they just marketed it so big. And then kind of how some of the fighters got screwed over a little bit with payouts because here these guys are. They just sold it for $4 billion, and you have some guys making like $5,000.
Yeah.
And that's for their fight. Like, you can't fight more than a couple times a year. It's not like...
No, definitely can't.
So now these people are making $5, $10, $20,000 on kind of semi-main events, and now you have to pay your training staff, and you have to do all this stuff, and you're getting, if you get a severe concussion or something, you can't fight.
Yeah, and you can't pay.
So it showed one guy who I felt awful for. He was he just became 40, but he lost his gym. He used to be a big MMA fighter 15 years ago or something, and he just lost his gym, and he had to tell his wife how he's going back into fighting. He's had 10 concussions. He has severe depression, and yeah.
Yeah, that's rough.
And it was tough. So that one I would definitely recommend. And then the TV show is Baskets.
How did you watch The Hurt Business?
Netflix.
So, all right.
So get that on Netflix. And then if anyone has FX, the television network, watch Baskets with Zach Galifianakis and Louis Anderson. It is the perfect mix of oddball humor and just really kind of
I heard a lot
tug at your heartstrings stuff. It's in its second season. It's on Thursday nights at 10 on FX.
Okay.
So those are two little under the radar things I watched and are currently watching that I would recommend.
For me, I am currently rewatching The Newsroom. And I hate this because I feel like I come on the friggin' podcast every week and I'm talking about shit that I've watched.
Yeah, but it's so good.
But this is just one of those things that I like. It's such a good, and it's so well done. And I started watching it with Lindy because she had never seen it. So I watched it, and she's hooked on it. I mean, I wouldn't say she's hooked on it, but she likes it. But then now I'm just I'm already through episode 2. Season 2, and I'm so I can't stop. So now I waste all my time watching something I've already seen. But I can't complain because it's just a phenomenal show. So if you haven't seen that, Aaron Sorkin writes it. But last weekend I went to go see John Wick 2. Let me tell you a little story about John Wick 2.
Okay.
So John Wick 1, I was excited for. When John Wick 1 was announced and the trailer came out, I was like, this looks like a fun movie. Hadn't seen Keanu Reeves in anything in a while.
At least not that type of role.
Yeah, definitely. At least not that type of role. Not like the Lake House or whatever. That was the last movie I saw him in. I think he's in that.
I was going to say, you had that ready to go.
The Lake House. It's like the movie where it's like a time traveling. Yeah. What's her name's in it from Miss Congeniality? Sandra Bullock. Yeah. I think she is. I could be getting both these actors wrong. Anyway.
I haven't seen it. I'll take your word for it.
So I was like really excited to see John Wick 1. It looked awesome. I never saw it in the theaters. Biggest regret of my life. One of the biggest regrets of my life. It's extreme. But it was. So I bought it on iTunes and I watched it, and it is just such a refreshing movie. Not in the fact that it does anything new, but it just does like classic action movies so well. It does it so well. It's like this perfect character. Keanu Reeves says probably 10 words the entire movie. He's so stoic, like such a badass. And then so John Wick 2, I was like, I have to see this in the theater now, because one of the surprisingly good things about John Wick 1 was the score. Like a really good score and like the sound mixing, because there's like gunshots and there's like, fists to flesh, and like the direction of the movies like is so good because the action is directed so well. But John Wick 2 was it did not let down. It was just as good, if not better, than the first one. And it's going to be a trilogy. It has to be. And like Keanu Reeves is already saying how excited he is to film the third one. I don't understand how he filmed this movie. He's not a spring chicken. No,
and he does all the stunts in the gun work. I saw the videos.
Yeah,
it's unreal.
And I was reading about it, and like, so he doesn't do like, he does all the gun work and all like the stunts that you see, like all the stunts with him like rolling around on the ground. That's all him. There's a lot of scenes though of him falling down the stairs, and I'm trying to keep a keen eye to like, is that him or is that somebody else? And one of the scenes, he like falls down this flight of stairs and he rolls and gets up, and like the camera never leaves him. Like it's him. Like how do they do this? And like this is something that just wouldn't make sense for CGI. This man is rolling down flights of stairs. Like I'm sure he's like padded all up and everything, but
still
it's still what? So good. I loved it. And Ruby Rose was in it.
Ooh, I like Ruby Rose.
She's mute. She speaks in the sign language, but it's really cool because I believe they did this in John Wick 1 too. They show some like, if an actor says a word and they want to accentuate it, instead of acting it accentuated, they show it on screen in like big red letters. Like so in this one, like Ruby Rose is like doing signing to John Wick, and the words will come up, and then like one word will be in red, one word will be in blue. Like really cool stuff.
It's a very unique movie. The first one, I do really want to see the second
one.
And
it has a great cast of characters. Like Lawrence Fishburne's in it. Ian McShane is in it. Ian McShane's from the first one as well.
Little Matrix reunion.
Hey, yeah. I actually, you know what? I didn't even think about that because like it's been so long. That's so.
I
weird.
watched that the other day.
But Matrix reunion.
Ian McShane, he's a great character.
Love Ian McShane, and he was in the first one. He's kind of like he's the manager of the secret society for hitmen, and Common's in it, and Common is surprisingly good. I always kind of like Common in like acting. I know he was in a few other movies, and he was in a similar movie called Smoking Aces. Smoking Aces with Jeremy Piven.
That's the one like in the hotel.
Yeah. And and a bunch of people are in that. The chick from Empire.
Alicia Keys is in it. Yeah. So Ryan Reynolds. Kama was another assassin, and his name's Cassian, and he's like John Wick's like his like. They both seem to have like John Wick has the reputation as a hitman. Like they call him the boogeyman, but he seems like he's equal. Oh. And so it seems like he's going to come back for the third one, and yeah, it was awesome. So John Wick 2, check that out in theaters. If you like just like a good time, like going to see a movie, like you don't really have to think. You don't have to really think much about it. Like I said, the score is awesome. The acting is fantastic. So I mean, not the acting. The action is fantastic. There's not much acting, honestly. I mean, like you said, Ian McShane's a terrific character actor. So is Lawrence Fishburne. All the people that need to talk, like they are good, and the people that don't, like Ruby Rose, they're good also for a different reason. Right.
Yeah. So literally, she can't talk. So that's what I'm watching. But all right. So I think that was a pretty good podcast. We're rolling up on 50 minutes. We did live. I don't know how many people. We got no comments. Come on, people. We want you to interact with us.
Gotta get the comments going. I mean, if you're doing us the
it was a little short. It was a little short notice with the new the voicemail. So we'll promote that this week. Yeah. We'll be sure to promote that number. But just so you know, again, the voice number is 401-285-8120. It might ring. Nobody's going to answer. Okay? Go to voicemail, leave a voicemail for us. Ask us a question. If you have a question about this podcast, anything we said in the podcast, anything like that, you need advice. Again, I don't know what kind of advice we'd give you, but we will give you something.
We'll give you something.
We will give you advice. At Average Nobodies on Twitter, at Average Nobodies on Instagram, youtube.com/The Average Nobodies, and on Facebook, facebook.com /The Average Nobodies?
Yes.
The Average Nobodies. So check us out there. And until next week, and that's it.
That's it.
So enjoy the Oscars, and we'll catch you next Wednesday. We'll probably do this again next Wednesday. So, all right. Have a week.
Have a week, everybody. Thanks for listening.